Before we jump into this episode, I want to remind you that while Caitlin and Sophia are dietitians, we're not your dietitians. This means the information shared in the Food Freedom Fertility podcast is intended to entertain, educate, and inform. It is not a substitute for medical care. This information is not intended to diagnose, manage, or treat disease. Always consult with your doctor before making any changes.
Welcome to another episode of Food, Freedom, and Fertility. I am one of your co-hosts, Caitlin Johnson, and we are diving into the last episode of what we called our summer season. I realize we're now a couple weeks into fall, so it's time to shift things over to season 5 of the Food, Freedom, Fertility podcast. And that kicks off on this upcoming Monday. So get used to podcasts releasing on Monday again instead of Wednesday during our summer interlude. And get used to full-length episodes that are an hour to an hour and a half long, in-depth conversations between Sophia and I about nutrition for fertility, interviewing other guest experts on various topics in fertility. And I was just working on the release schedule of this upcoming season, and you're going to love it. So stay tuned on Monday for the new season to kick off. But today we're going to talk about a topic that I think is really fun and interesting. If you're at home and you have access to the different fertility supplements or any supplements that you're taking, I highly recommend pausing this and going to grab those right now, because today's episode is all about supplements and best practices. When should you take them? Is there any considerations you need to have if it's early in the day or taken with food or best taken not with food? Are there any supplements that you need to stop once you're pregnant? Are there any supplements that you need to stop to get thorough and accurate lab work? We'll talk about a couple key fertility prescriptions and how those may interact with different supplements that you might be taking. And that is what we're going to dive into today. So buckle up, grab a hold of those supplements, and we will start kind of big picture and then trickle down into kind of more targeted supplements. So when I think about the big picture, supplements are there to supplement. They're called supplements. They're not called foundations, okay? The foundations are things like your nutrition, your sleep. They're things like your activity levels, your exposure to different things in an environment. We want to work on those things. Supplements are meant to help. They're meant to be stopgaps. They're meant to be insurance policies, or they're meant to support you in ways that your body may not be functioning optimally, where you may not be able to get enough of the work done with those foundations. And in that way, they're kind of like a scaffold. They're a structure that stabilizes and strengthens things that you're already building upon: food, movement, mindset, stress, sleep, all of those things. So the best time to consider supplements is once we kind of have an idea of what our goals are and what our needs are. You're listening to this podcast, so likely your goal is pregnancy. Maybe you're struggling with infertility. Maybe you're just planning ahead and you're going to start trying to conceive soon. If you already had a baby, maybe you're in postpartum and you need to think about that. So we're going to talk about this in the context of trying to conceive. I will give you some special notes on pregnancy and postpartum. And if you have questions beyond that, you probably should book an appointment with Sophia or I. We love talking about supplements. We love individualizing plans for our patients. We love looking at your lab work and helping you choose the optimal supplements based on what's going on within your own body. So this is not individual medical advice. This is not to replace time with your own practitioners. And if you're listening to this and kind of overwhelmed, maybe just book an appointment with one of us so that we can help you individually. But let's start in the context of what I would call the core 4 things that you need to consider while you're trying to conceive. The first is a quality prenatal. The second is a fish oil. The third is vitamin D. If you have tested your vitamin D and you know you're low, or you're taking a prenatal that has less than 2 to 4,000 IUs of vitamin D daily, I would make sure vitamin D is in the mix for you as well, and inositol. Now, inositol is kind of like an asterisk on my core 4. That's my core 4 because I treat mostly PCOS. It's also great for endometriosis. It's also great for anybody with any level of insulin resistance, but I would consider it core and essential for anybody with PCOS. So let's break down these one by one. A prenatal vitamin is a vitamin that is uniquely designed to help support conception, to help bolster key nutrients so that you go into pregnancy not in any type of deficient state. We want you repleted. We want you like fully functional and working off of all your cylinders. Okay. Pregnancy is an incredibly nutrient expensive period of time in your life. And so we want to go into that as kind of full to the brim with vital nutrients as we can. Okay, this is not the time to skimp. So, ideally, we're taking prenatals before we get pregnant. We're not adding them in once we are pregnant. It's my opinion, and I think Sophia would agree with this, that during your fertile years, especially if during your fertile years you are having sex without contraception, you should be on a prenatal vitamin, not just a multivitamin. Certainly not like a kid's Flintstone vitamin that I still hear some doctors say is okay for you to take as your prenatal. It's not. It's not adequate. Okay. Even some prenatals on the market, I am embarrassed to say I wouldn't give my kids as a prenatal or as a multivitamin. Nevertheless, recommend them to an adult human getting ready to or actually pregnant and growing a new human inside of them. Okay. I won't mention this brand specifically, but it might rhyme with Itual and start with an R. Okay. I do not recommend that one at all. Not once, not ever. Okay. There are a couple prenatal brands that we love here on Food Freedom Fertility. You can check out some of our past season sponsors. Our upcoming season 5 sponsor is Fullwell Fertility Prenatal, and we highly recommend that one. So I'll leave it at that for today's episode. But suffice it to say, we're looking for a prenatal that has like 4,000 IUs of vitamin D, it has methylated folate, it has choline, it has iodine. It's not a deal breaker or maybe even my top recommendation to have iron within your prenatal. But if you're low in iron, we'll talk about iron supplementation as well in this episode. But when should you take it? Ideally, you're going to take your prenatal with food, especially food that contains fat. So you could take it with a meal. The prenatals that we often recommend have 6 to 8 capsules per like full serving, meaning 6 to 8 capsules taken within a day. And so you could split this apart in your 3 meals. Hopefully you're eating fat at every meal. It's certainly going to make it taste better and make you absorb more of the really important fat soluble nutrients. So I would say take your prenatal with a meal. Ideally, we're splitting it apart. So if it's an 8 capsule prenatal, you need to take like 3 in the morning, 3 at lunch, 2 with dinner. If you are somebody that will not take it 3 times a day, I would rather you take all 8 at one time than to not take it at all. Okay. So there's caveats here. We need both what's recommended and what's like best practice and what's sustainable and realistic. If you can't remember to take it at all times in the day, then I highly recommend you just take it at the meal you're most likely to take it. If that's at bedtime, you take it at bedtime. If that's in the morning, you take it in the morning. Just take it when you're more likely to take it. For those of us that are like kind of type A, we have those pill organizers. We're really good at filling them. We're really good at taking them. I highly recommend that you take it split in 2 or 3 doses throughout the day with your meal. For those of us that don't want pill organizers, but are also type A, another way that I've done this throughout the years is order like 2 bottles of the supplement and keep one at my desk and one in the kitchen. So whether my desk was in my home like it is these days, or I used to own an office for my practice when I lived in California, I just kept a bottle there too. And then I could take it when I'm at home and I could take it at work, and that was great. So splitting it throughout the day, working with your own perfect self and imperfect self, and taking it the way that you will take it. Okay, number 2 of my essential 4 core supplements is your fish oil. Looking for 1 to 2,000 milligrams, like a combined dose throughout the day. Hopefully this has EPA and DHA, so it's like a fish oil specific for prenatal, or it's one that has like a higher concentration and higher dosages. I recommend those a lot for my PCOS patients. I want you to take this with meals containing fat. I don't want you to take it on an empty stomach because sometimes you'll get like fish burps, but when you take it with a meal, kind of that's like less likely to happen. Vitamin D, that third component, if you're not getting enough in your prenatal alone, or if your lab value suggests that you need more, then the best time to take that is with your largest meal or alongside your fish oil. Okay, so those are like the 3 core essential things I put everyone on. Inositol would be that like 4th core essential thing if you are listening to this and you also have PCOS. This one is really important. It helps improve insulin sensitivity. It helps improve egg quality, ovarian function, can lower testosterone. It's just such a great product. And we recommend it in pregnancy to help lower the risk of gestational diabetes or even treat gestational diabetes. Ideally, we're going to split the total dose of inositol into 2 or 3 doses. If you're taking 4,000 IUs of this, you would split it into 2 doses. If you're taking 6,000 IUs of it, you're going to split it into 3 doses. This one has some like ideal suggestions and more real world suggestions. Okay. One way that I love to take my inositol is to put just my full dose of it in a big water bottle with my water and ice, maybe with a little lemon juice, and just head out in my day and I just sip it all day long. But if you don't want to do that, if you just want to dose the inositol on your tongue, or you want to put it in a little bit of water and shoot it back, I recommend taking it a little bit before breakfast, maybe 30 or 40 minutes before breakfast, and a little bit before your evening meal. The thing about inositol is that it's going to kind of compete with the proteins in your digestive tract that shuttle carbohydrates across and like help it get absorbed into your blood system. So with inositol, it would be best if you didn't take it like right while you're eating, because you're likely going to be eating some carbs and you may not absorb as much of it. That being said, I would rather you take it with food and take it than not take it at all. So again, this is kind of like the prenatals. Whatever the best practices are, that's great. Real life may say that you take the entire dose because you forgot it in the morning, in the evening, and maybe you even do that next to dinner. But best practices would say split doses and maybe not just really close to a meal. Again, real life, I like to just throw it in my water bottle and head out in the day, and I drink it as I drink it. Another thing you can do is just dose it straight onto your tongue. This is my inositol Plus product. It also has a few other things in it that are really supportive for mood and relaxation. And so I often will have this kind of as I'm heading into my evening, or well after dinner, maybe after I put my kids to bed. So my inositol Plus has a lot of things in it that help support that relaxation piece. It's got magnesium in it, it's got taurine, and it's got L-theanine. And you will find taurine and L-theanine very often in supplements that help with sleep. It's also got a little bit of B6. So this is one that I really love to take in the evening times to support that. Now, as we move on to other targeted supplements taken while people are trying to conceive, CoQ10 and alpha lipoic acid seem to come up. Both of these you would be well advised to take with a meal that contains fat. I like to take these in the morning. They're antioxidants and they just help me kind of support my mitochondrial health throughout the day. And I just love that for energy values. These are ones that I also often recommend for meal partners. So definitely think about taking CoQ10 and ALA, and you can take those in the morning time. Okay, here's one that is really, really important for you to pay attention to the recommendations, and that is iron. If you're taking an iron supplement, we want you to take it in a way that doesn't upset your tummy. For some people, taking it on an empty stomach makes it kind of hurt or feel sour, like a sour belly. If that's you, then you can take it with food. Ideally, you want to take it with something that has vitamin C in it because you're going to absorb more of it. You don't want to take it next to any really high calcium foods. You don't want to take it next to coffee or tea because you will see that you absorb less iron and then the purposes of taking it are kind of defeated. So, you definitely want to take iron next to something with vitamin C. I like to take, if I'm going to take iron, and I've taken it in some of my pregnancies, I like to take it and then kind of have it with a snack where I'm eating like a bell pepper or maybe a little cutie orange, and I'm getting some vitamin C in there. Antioxidants, things like vitamin C, NAC, selenium, these help boost egg quality. They're protective against oxidative stress. I tend to recommend to take these when you remember. There aren't so many like you absolutely need to take it this way or don't take it this way. I would just say take it because if you've paid money to get these antioxidants, they're really powerful. They can be really supportive, but they can't if you don't take them. I tend to take these with my food. So I want to move on to talk about supplements that help with blood sugar, things like probiotics, Vitex, and licorice, which can impact hormones, and a few supplements that have to do with gut health. We're going to blow through these a little bit more quickly because they're kind of broad and general in terms of the recommendations, and not everybody's going to be taking them. Berberine is one of my favorite insulin sensitizers. It helps support blood sugar, it lowers inflammation, it helps improve androgen levels. I tend to take this personally with meals. We have a product in the PCOS formularies line called Blood Sugar Support, and I take 2 of those with breakfast, 2 of those at lunch, and 1 with dinner. And they help support your blood sugar throughout the day. It also has things in it like cinnamon and chromium and other blood sugar balancing herbs and vitamins. It also has berberine. Berberine is great to take with meals. If you're taking berberine, you tend to split the dose out throughout the day. A typical dose is anywhere between 1,000 milligrams and 2,000 milligrams if you're taking berberine alone and it's not in a combined product. This is one of those ones that you're gonna want to stop when you find out that you're pregnant and you don't tend to take during breastfeeding. Unlike inositol, it is not something that's tested in pregnancy to help with gestational diabetes. So it's definitely one that you want to stop when you find out you're pregnant. Every other supplement I've mentioned up to this point, prenatal, fish oil, vitamin D, inositol, iron, antioxidants can have a place in pregnancy. CoQ10 and alpha lipoic acid have been shown to be helpful when it comes to lowering miscarriage risk. Those are ones I would work with your individual practitioner to see if they're helpful for you or worth continuing once you find out that you're pregnant. Probiotics. Probiotics are generally considered safe across the board, although they have different purposes and sometimes they're kind of an expensive product that you may or may not need. You can usually get by with eating probiotic rich food and eating fiber rich in your diet, and then you support the healthy gut bacteria that you already have. When we're talking about probiotics, though, there are times to consider them if you are working on digestive health, if you have a history of group B strep in your pregnancies and you're trying to avoid that in your next pregnancy, if you're taking a specific kind because you're trying to um, decrease infections like yeast infections or bacterial vaginosis. Definitely probiotics can be super helpful with that. If you're working on a SIBO flare or you have IBS, they can be really helpful. I like to recommend a couple really strong metabolic probiotics that can be really helpful in terms of increasing your own natural production of GLP-1s and kind of zhuzhing or loving on typical imbalances that I see in the research in PCOS. And so probiotics can be a part of a plan, but they're not necessarily always required, especially if you eat a lot of fruits and vegetables and you're getting naturally fermented products, things like yogurt. So not necessarily like you have to take these. If you are taking them, the research is kind of mixed whether you should take them on an empty stomach or with a meal. So I tend to just tell people take them when you remember to take them. It's nice to keep them in your fridge. It's nice to then take them when you're in your kitchen near your fridge. I would not take them around like when you're drinking coffee on an empty stomach. I would wait to take it when you're eating food. Okay. All right, moving on. Let's talk about other ones that may impact digestion. So things like betaine HCl, digestive bitters, and digestive enzymes. So digestion is where nutrient absorption begins. Fertility is dependent on that. We want to optimize gut health. Some of these supports have different reasons why you would be taking them. Betaine HCl is something that improves the acidity of your stomach if you're struggling with really good protein digestion. It can be really helpful if you're somebody that has gastroparesis, where food sits in your stomach for a really long time. I often recommend betaine HCl to help with that digestive process in the stomach. It is great to take with protein heavy meals, though people I have on it, I tend to just say take it at every meal. So that's something you actually want to take like at the beginning of your meals. Digestive bitters are best to take before meals. They're taken to stimulate kind of your natural stomach acid flow, your natural bile flow. You can get bitter products that have been made for you to get that kind of bitter taste and sensation. You can also just eat bitter food. I like to eat things like arugula and radicchio at the beginning of my meals or even when I'm cooking to kind of get those juices flowing. I like to have ginger tea or dandelion root tea, especially in the wintertime while I'm cooking and prepping dinner. Ginger and dandelion root are great bitters that are safe in pregnancy. Bitters are definitely something that I tend to recommend if you're using a mixture to make sure it's a pregnancy safe one, or just stop taking it in pregnancy and rely on bitter tasting foods. Digestive enzymes are things to take with meals. They support breaking down macronutrients. So they help support, especially if you're somebody that's like had your gallbladder out. I highly recommend considering digestive enzymes. If you're somebody that struggles with breaking apart milk sugars, you can take enzymes that contain lactase, which is the natural enzyme that breaks apart lactose. So there's lots of options for these things and a lot that are kind of aggregated and all the different types of enzymes that you can take. Those you want to take with meals. So bitters before meals, ideally, betaine HCl and digestive enzymes with meals. Now, there are a lot of other products that you can take for your GI tract. Things like arginine and zinc and marshmallow root and other things for repair or gelatin production that kind of and helping with like mucus membrane support to make sure that you don't have like assault on the cells that line your intestines that help with absorption. There's a lot going on here. If you're struggling with different types of digestive upset, either in your upper GI, like heartburn or other considerations like gastroparesis, like I mentioned earlier, or you're dealing with lots of constipation, diarrhea, pain with passing bowel movements, then those are things that I would consider making an appointment with Sophia or myself. Definitely we can do things like run stool testing on you, look for imbalances in both digestion and in the makeup of your bacterial profiles in your gut microbiome. So there's lots of things that we can consider there. Okay, I want to talk about Vitex and licorice root because both of these are ones that I recommend taking in the morning. They both regulate hormones in different ways. Vitex primarily is kind of working with the brain ovary communication axis, helps promote ovulation, it helps boost low progesterone levels and support luteal phase defects. I like to say take it in the morning as early as you can to waking. Licorice root is something that can help regulate cortisol. It also helps lower androgen production. And so it's something that I also like to recommend in the morning when we're kind of taking on the stress of the day. I don't recommend taking it at night. You definitely don't want to take it if you have high blood pressure. And both Vitex and licorice root, I would not recommend in pregnancy. Definitely talk to your practitioner if you feel like this is something that helped you get pregnant and what to do when to go off of it as pregnancy occurs. So these are the main things that people are on while they're trying to conceive. Certainly, there are other supplements out there. And again, I would recommend that you don't just blindly take supplements like so-and-so down the street got pregnant taking this supplement, so you should take it too. No, you should take that to your naturopath or to your registered dietitian. I'd love to tell you to take it to your primary care provider, but they just aren't generally trained in kind of the science and the art of using supplements to support fertility. You're going to get a lot further along if you see a functionally trained dietitian or a naturopathic physician. Chinese medicine has a lot of teas and things, and I am not expert in that. I would recommend if you have something that's more in the Chinese medicine world or a tea that's mixed by a Chinese medicine provider, that you would go to that provider to get the recommendations on how to take that and when to stop it. Okay. One last note that I want to make sure that we absolutely cover has to do with a couple medications. The first medication is thyroid medication. So if you're on thyroid medication, I hope this isn't news to you, but typically we recommend taking it first thing in the morning, at least an hour before anything else other than water. So you would take it hopefully immediately upon rising, definitely after you take your basal body temperature if you're using an oral thermometer. But you could take it if you wake up and go pee at like 4 a.m. You could definitely have it next to your bed ready for you to roll over and take if you wake up in kind of the wee morning hours. You could take it then. Otherwise, you want to take it at least an hour before taking anything else. You do want to consider spacing out your prenatal from your thyroid medicine too. And ideally, we're looking at more than just an hour there. So if you're taking thyroid medicine and you wake up and you take it at like 6 a.m., then for you, I'd probably recommend that you give like 4 hours until you take iron, calcium, magnesium, zinc, prenatals. Those I would push out a little further into the day. Okay. So 10 a.m., maybe if you're taking your medication at 6. Again, taking these things are better than not taking them at all. So you can talk with your doctor about your thyroid medicine. They tend to adjust your thyroid medicine based on your lab values, and your lab values are going to reflect how you're taking it. So if you don't know this or you want to take it closer to these other things, you may find that you need to take higher doses of it. I've even seen some recommendations from different endocrinologists to take it right before bed. Again, recommend speaking with your doctor about what will work best for you. When we're talking about ovulation stimulation, Clomid, letrozole, different gonadotropin shots, I would not recommend taking Vitex or licorice while you're doing those unless your provider has told you to. But other than that, pretty much anything else that we've covered in this episode are safe to take, even though you might be taking those. You may, in fact, also need to up your doses of magnesium to help combat some common side effects when you're taking ovulation stimulation medications, namely like headaches. And some people will say that they're a little constipated on those medications. So magnesium can help on that front as well. So if you are getting labs drawn, I tend to recommend holding prenatals, iron, fish oils, vitamin D. Okay. Prenatals, iron, fish oils, vitamin D. Maybe if you're taking a biotin supplement, that could impact your thyroid labs. You're likely not taking that unless we're working like on your hair growth or something. But those I would stop for 24 to 48 hours before you have labs drawn. The rest of the things that we've talked about are just fine. Once you're pregnant, though, I tend to strip people back down to that core four: prenatals, fish oils, vitamin D if you need extra inositol. And then I ask the question, do we need to add iron in? For a lot of my PCOS gals, the answer is yes, because of ferritin levels being really low at baseline, which is your storage form of iron. When you are breastfeeding, your vitamin D needs go up even higher if you're breastfeeding, especially if you're not going to supplement your baby while you're breastfeeding. You really need to be on a super high quality prenatal while you're breastfeeding. And I often consider inositol essential during that time for my PCOS gals. Melatonin is one other supplement that I recommend a lot for egg quality, for sleep and stress support. If you're getting good night's sleep, it's easier to implement other recommendations throughout the day, like eating high protein breakfast or actually cooking dinner or going for a walk, because you have energy. And so if you need melatonin for ovulation support, for antioxidant support, if you have PCOS, I often put people on melatonin. We have it in our Sleep Well product in the PCOS formularies line, which is my new favorite supplement ever because I've been getting the best night's sleep while I'm on it. Melatonin is definitely something you want to take at night because it will make you sleepy during the day. But some people are taking it for the egg quality purpose and not necessarily to support their sleep. And I would highly recommend just taking it at night so that you're not feeling super sleepy throughout your days. Okay, that was a lot of information. You might want to listen to this again. You definitely want to go grab your supplements and look at them because maybe they contain some of these things that I talked about that you are surprised about. Also, you may have seen me if you're on YouTube doing this scrunchy thing with my hair. I'm trying to embrace my natural curl again because I got a fabulous haircut that was starting to help it feel lighter and easier to curl. And it's just making me feel like so feminine and I'm loving it. So thanks for listening to that tidbit. Maybe that's my solo yeah girl. I can't wait for this next season that we're kicking off on Monday. So please get subscribed in the podcast listening app that you're in so that automatically downloads and you're ready to hang out with us on your way to work or on your daily walk or while you're cooking dinner on Monday. And if you have questions on these supplements, please feel free to book an appointment with me, especially. I think Sophia would love to have an appointment with you as well. If you go to my website, PCOSfertilitynutrition.com, there is a book an appointment now button. And one of the appointments that you can book there's actually 3 there. One is for new patients, and we definitely go over supplements in those. There's one that I order lab work for you. This is only for people in the US. I will do this appointment with you if you're out of the US, but I can't order your lab work. So you'd have to come to me with your lab work. But that one, for those of you in the US, I order lab work and that's covered in the cost of the appointment. And we book an appointment and I go over your lab work and recommend supplements specifically for you. And then the third appointment is for those that just found out that they're pregnant and they want to book an appointment because they need to find out what they can continue taking in pregnancy. All of those, I go over supplements and I would be happy to help you. You can also check out PCOSformularies.com for PCOS specific supplements. And we will see you next week. Thanks for listening to this episode.